All right, y'all. Are you ready? Welcome. I call the Maplewood City Council work session to order on Tuesday, February 13th, 2024. This would come roll call.
Councilmember Correll,
Here.
Councilmember Falkingham,
Here.
Councilmember Garcia,
Here.
Councilmember Homa,
Here.
Mayor Knapper,
Here.
Councilmember Maddox,
Here.
Councilmember Page,
Here.
Mayor, a quorum is present.
Thank you. Let's skip item number 3 and go to item number 4. Ms. Whitaker.
Yes, Mayor, we had a request come forward to review the city's policies and approach to contracting with unionized vendors. I have provided the existing procurement policy in our ordinances to open this discussion for you all.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Yeah, thank you. So, I put in the packet for everybody to take a look at, and basically St. Louis County has adopted a lowest responsible bidder language and policy for construction projects. And what I would like to do is take a look at this ordinance, like to shift it a little bit to fit us a little bit better to make sure that we are spending our money in the way that we feel that it should be spent, which is making sure that our contractors and making sure that our construction is done with labor that has the proper safety training, as well as making sure that the contractors are paying their subs as well as their employees fair wages and benefits. Kind of just falls in line with what we've been talking about, along with our own in-house people unionizing. So it's not a union-only situation. What this ordinance does is just set some guidelines as far as having registered apprenticeships, OSHA 10, OSHA 30, and just some things like that. So they're attainable goals for contractors to be qualified to bid on our work. Ensure that our money is being spent with people who are trained in the field that we're hiring to do. Overall, you might see a small increase in your upfront money, but as far as having things done correctly and done right, that's where you end up benefiting, not having to have somebody come back. So I wanted to kind of put this in your guys' view here and see what you thought, get some opinions from you guys to go back and kind of rework this and kind of make it fit and form to us. You guys have any thoughts?
Well, I think it's great. So there's that. When you are going back and looking at it, we talked about enforcement, and I know that probably almost anything that we put in there that discusses enforcement is going to be new to the area, and so we do things. So.
Yeah, no, that's a really good idea. That just make sure that what we have implemented is being followed, and having some procedure for that. So I'll look into that. I like the lower responsible bidder language. So one thing in here that changes the dollar amount to 75,000 instead of 50,000. Is that right? Yeah. So the way this is phrased in St. Louis County, this is like they're thinking in big increments. So that it would be my idea to shrink that number down and have that fit to run more with us. So with anybody else's thoughts or opinions, I'll make some modifications and maybe we'll throw this in the next work session, take a look at it again, work ourselves through it. It's a little bit complicated, so it's obviously something we'll have to, put together, get to Jackie and see what we can make work if everybody's okay with that. Yep, I'm good, thanks. Great idea, thanks. Cool, thanks everybody.
Number 5.
Yes, Mayor, repeal of taxes on groceries, legislative advocacy, and priorities for city services.
Thank you. So you all saw my memo. I addressed that memo to our city manager because I just wanted to have a clear understanding of what our priorities are when it comes to city services, and then we'll provide more detail. Excuse me, also wanted to talk about what advocacy looks like coming from council. I will just tell you that I think that we are going to need to start having conversations with the elected officials that represent us in Jefferson City, but then other people outside. So, you know, right now, we have a representative that is not able to fully represent us because of some things that are going on with that representative. But we can talk to our senator, which is Carla May. Then we can still talk to Doug Beck, Senator Doug Beck, even though he is no longer representing us officially. We need to start speaking up, because it just seems to me this is the second year that we've seen this the suggested repeal of the food tax. And the first year we saw it was last year, and I think there was just, you know, one bill that we had a committee. Now there's 5 that's in the committee right now. I'm not sure, you know, what will make it out. Really don't want to risk that. So I think we need to be proactive and start communicating with ourselves. We need to go down to Jefferson City. We can work that out with Ms. Whitcomb, see what her schedule provides, and get us down there to do that. If not, we can always make phone calls and emails and things like that. So just wanted to have that conversation with you all. Also regarding these bills, to me, it's like at some point, something's gonna pass. Right, and so I know that might be like, you know, it's like the sky is falling, but at this point, we being proactive, I think it is. Even though we're still waiting to see if one of these bills comes out of committee. And so with that being said, I think when we go into our discussions about the budget, we need to start talking about what it looks like to share services with other municipalities. And I brought that up before, but I'm like, we are really serious about this now. We've got to get serious about this. What does it look like to share other services so that can save us money? Because with the passage of a bill like this, it will decimate our budget. Which goes to my question that I asked, what are the priorities when it comes to these services? And I'd like to have that conversation with council as well as with the county, because when I think of priorities, like, okay, our budget has been decimated because of the repeal of the food tax, I'm thinking policing as the first priorities, because that serves life. But if other council members are thinking something else, like, let's have that conversation so we're clear and we have an understanding. So I'm going to stop to allow my colleagues to respond and then would come.
Yeah, I was, this is not like the nicest way to say it, but I think about, like, in my business, we do disaster recovery planning because we have to plan on, like, if a hurricane takes out our data center, how do we keep the lights on? And we almost need something comparable, not just for this, but like, what happens if Schnucks closes their store? You know, or like when Shop and Save, we lucked out in that the Shop and Save was so popular here that it became a Schnucks. And I don't know, again, it's not like a true VR in that sense, but I feel like it might be beneficial to have a very quick tabletop exercise of like, let's do rankings of how do we, you know, we lose 20% of our budget, what do we do? We lose 25%, what do we do? How can we move things around with the least amount of disruption to people's daily lives?
I'm gonna talk about the advocacy part of it. I would assume for the larger cities, it's probably not big. They're probably diverse in their revenue streams, but small municipalities is an issue, right? And I think we think municipalities, we think St. Louis County, but this would be every, I mean, right statewide. Is there action happening amongst mayors of small towns? Because we can't be the only ones that are looking over this cliff thinking, holy crap. And I don't just mean the other St. Louis County municipalities, like, you know, I'm talking, you know, Dexter, Missouri, there's 10,000 people there. Are they freaking out as much as we are? You know, somebody called it to that. That's where the bipartisan could come from, because at the end of the day, it's the rural urban side more than anything else. I just wonder if we ought to be reaching out to some of our suburban and even rural communities and say, this is the thing.
That's smart. Because
Those are the voices they'll hear.
yeah, I along with other, when you first started, I was like, yes, we're talking to each other, right? But when you're talking about the rural areas that also have grocery stores, they have to affect them as well. No, that's brilliant.
I just think those are the voices that Chastity is interested in listening to, maybe not so much ours, but people that listen to them.
If it's the whole state, that will carry more weight.
Also, true, correct.
Yeah.
I don't know how to facilitate that. That's just been on my mind.
I would also think that, police and fire unions are probably, like, they're already advocating in Jeff City. Police and fire are the biggest pieces of the budget for most municipalities, who get impacted by this, so it might be worth aligning with them to see what their advocacy efforts are, because those would be the groups impacted by budget cuts.
And I would mention they have legislative staff, so they would be more positioned to do stuff than,
So anyone else, is there any, different view regarding, at least from council, regarding what a priority would be, like outside of police and fire? Okay.
Yeah, Mayor, per my memo, we are already engaged in some advocacy efforts, reaching out to our representatives through our consultant. Our police chief has also been participating in regional efforts to advocate in Jeff City. Those are meaningful efforts, but I think you as the governing body participating in that will have an impact as well. So I'd like to make available to you some opportunities for us to engage more directly. We are seeing that these bills may not make it out of committee. There is a lot of backlash, obviously, not just from the St. Louis and Kansas City regions, but from across the state. So we are feeling a little bit better this week than I think we were 2 or 3 weeks ago about the possibility of any of these making it out of committee. That being said, we shouldn't let up on making our legislators aware of what our priorities are in this regard. So we will continue. But I think overall, the step that this body is taking to be involved in legislative advocacy is an important one, and one that I think we should provide structured opportunities for you all to engage in on an annual basis. I will note too, we will be discussing strategic budget priorities next work session on February 27th. If we'd like to include something akin to what Councilmember Garcia has mentioned, sort of a ranked priorities list as we're thinking about how we would accommodate a cut this significant, we can certainly add that into the discussion.
Anything? Agreed. Thank you. Yep. All right, Ms. Whitcomb, item number 6.
City legal services, costs and budgeting.
I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Councilmember Henry.
Yes, thank you. I submitted the memo here for a couple of reasons. One is because I didn't feel that I had a clear grasp of the actual dollars we're spending, and when we're spending those for our legal services. And two, based on the questions that came out at the January 24th Route Pass and Jake Town Hall meeting. So anyway, thank you for putting this together. I was surprised at some of these dollar amounts. And I think just where we get information, I think it's always those amounts, and that we think about possibly the secretary, how that works and what the dollar amounts look like, and if that's really on these, or if that's something that we can keep under these costs that we're paying now. Also, I think just for the collaborative budget process, it's good to know these, and I appreciate the recommendations that you made for the upcoming budgets and how that will be broken out. I do like those, but I just kind of wanted to get my eyes on this and get this in front of council, because I do think it's something that we should consider as we're looking at shared services in the future. If and when a bill like this passes, that could be another more to we could look at legal assistance. Now, we try to.
Yeah, I just have a quick question, Attorney Graves, if you wouldn't mind. I'm just wondering, what is if you have any specific reasoning, not reasoning, can you give us some examples of why these amounts are higher more recently? It seems like we're climbing a little bit.
Sure, so I will go back to 2020. 2020 there was not a lot happening that year, as you know, with COVID. And I think the city was just trying to function and we were getting through all of the issues. So I would say there was not a ton of use of my services insofar as looking forward, looking what changes can we be doing, what revisiting of ordinances and policies. That was just not on the table in 2020. In 2021 and 2022, I will say, and in particular, I'll point to 2022, this was the year that we were getting ready for trial in the class action lawsuit, and that the city filed a declaratory judgment action against Slate, the insurer, all related to protecting the city's interests in that lawsuit. I grant that they were much higher that year, and we had a mediation that year. That mediation was June of 2022. And so that's what it comes for that number. In 2023 and 2024, I would say that they're larger than if you look back to 2020, largely because this council is very forward thinking. You're doing a lot. You're revisiting policies, you're revisiting ordinances, you're asking questions. Why do we do things? Can we do them differently? And so that just requires legal work. That requires me to review what you all are doing and provide input. And I will say that sometimes when you give me something, if the answer is no, I'm never going to give you a no unless I've explored every other option of yes or no, but. And so I'm really trying to figure out what you all are looking for and figure out a way to do it. And so I would say that the last 2 years, that's why they're higher. We've also had a couple of personnel matters. I would say the last few months that maybe 2024 is a little bit higher than 2023, but that would be my job.
Thank you.
The earlier 2022 was the one that was like, and that was arguably new because the minority that spike was related to that lawsuit. Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Forgive me, Councilmember Coral, put you on the spot, because you did some research and found some numbers.
I didn't.
So will you tell us the number of ordinances that we passed from?
So when I saw these numbers, I was alarmed also, and I was just kind of curious what kind of differences we were looking at. And so since 2021 till end of 23, I believe there was 28 ordinances that have been passed through this count. Well, through that. And so I had noticed that before that, for a period of time, I think the same period of time, there was 8 ordinances. So it makes sense what you're saying, that much work and doing that much stuff is going to cost a little bit more. So yeah, so good job, everybody.
Good job, because I had no idea.
And that didn't include anything this year, so that was just through end of 23.
Councilmember Homer, thank you for being able to ask me these questions, because before you asked me that, I would not have known. And so I appreciate getting that information. I think Councilmember Homer asking that question, it is helping me to understand what I would like to see when we go through our budget process now. It's clear to me that we have a 50,000 with some things that I think I'd like to see about. So appreciate everybody for that. All right, if there is nothing further, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
All right.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.